Hi everyone and welcome to Lab 5-1, and that might sound a little funny to you because the last video also walked you through Lab 5-1, and we walked through that lab in a software called SAS. Now I'm going to redo that lab, this time using Tableau Prep Builder. Alright, so we can access Tableau Prep Builder by going to our remote desktop connection here. And we're going to pick Tableau Prep, not Tableau. Tableau is the data visualization software, while Tableau Prep is the software we would use to manipulate data, and this is the software that that Tableau offers. So on the Microsoft side, we have Microsoft Excel and Power BI. Excel is the manipulation software, Power BI is the visualization software. Tableau's products are called Tableau Prep. That's equivalent to like an Excel, and then Tableau is the visualization software that's equivalent to Power BI. All right, so we're going to open up Tableau Prep. This will take just a minute to open up on the remote desktop. Now when it eventually loads up, you're going to get a registration screen. Don't worry about that. That just is a default window that pops up every time. So I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to minimize my remote desktop connection window, and then I'm just going to split the screen here so that I have my Tableau Prep software open side by side with the instructions from the textbook for this lab. So first step here is I'm going to connect to data, and I'm going to pick text file, because the file that we're working with here is a CSV file, which is comma separated values. It's stored as a text file, and it can be read by software like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, or in this case Tableau Prep, but it's a text file technically. All right, so I'm going to navigate to where I have that file stored, and I am going to open up this file. All right, so this will take a few moments to load up, especially since we're using the remote desktop, so there's a bit of a slowdown when you connect remotely. So we'll just wait for this to load, and we can see that it's popping up, and down here we're seeing details of this table. So let's see what this looks like. We'll wait for the fields to load up, the columns. It'll list out the columns that are available in this data set, and then we can start manipulating what we need to manipulate here. Alright, so the fields finally loaded up, and what we want to do is we're going to remove step 1, or step 2A here says to remove the fields that we don't need, which are calendar year and calendar month. So I'm going to uncheck these boxes. Alright, and then in step 2B we want to rename a bunch of these fields. So agency number, if we double click that, we're going to rename it business unit code. Actually, let's put underscores in there. Business underscore unit underscore code. Hit enter. Now that will take just a minute to update before you see that change. So we just got to be patient with it. Agency name, we're going to call business unit description. So business unit description. Hit enter. Right. So it looks like the last one updated. You'll see over here we have a preview of what's in the fields, and then we've renamed 2 fields now. We want to rename item description, which is right here. We want to call that purchase order line product. Oh my gosh, this is so long. Line product description. All right. Okay, so so what we're doing is we're just renaming these variable fields in the data so that they match what the AICPA's common data standard says. So they should all have a common name. So We're going to also look at the amount. So the amount is going to be purchase order amount underscore local, right? Well, redo that. Merchant, we're going to rename to supplier underscore account underscore name, right? And then transaction date, is this one we're going to call transaction date purchase order date. Okay, and then post date, we're going to call that entered date. Entered underscore date, right? And then we are going to call MCC description, we're going to call that supplier group. And finally, row ID, we're going to call purchase order ID. Okay. All right, so now we should have been able to rename all these. It'll take just a few seconds for these changes to push through. I guess Tableau Prep is processing the changes. You can see it's working up here. That's what that means. So we'll just give this a minute, let these changes take effect, and then we can move forward. Alright, so these changes have finally gone through. And again, this would be faster if you had this software installed on your own computer, but because we're connecting to the remote desktop, it takes a little bit of extra processing time. So we are altering the names of the columns that are in that Excel file. Alright? And we're doing it so that the names of the columns match the AICPA common data standard, so that across companies we have similar field names, so that when an auditor comes in and looks at data from this database, he or she is familiar with the organization of the data. Okay, that's the idea here. We're trying to standardize the naming of the data that we have in our data set. All right. And then the last step is we want to create 3 new variables. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this plus button up top, and we're going to say add a clean step. All right, and you'll notice Tableau Prep and also Tableau, the regular software, the visualization software, it's based a lot on like flow charts and relating different sources of data in like a flow chart format. So that's why we're going through this process. And you know, it can be very powerful to think about data in that way, because you can reorient the different sources of data and reconnect in different ways and put them together in different ways. So it's like working with puzzle pieces. That's the idea here. So we'll just give this a minute to load up this clean step. All right, so you can see this has finally loaded. Actually, you see this giant water bottle, and I'm getting parched here from talking so much. All right, so you can see like those changes that we pushed through. They're reflected in the data now, right? So this is like the Excel table, right? We changed the names of the fields, and so here's business unit code, business unit description, purchase order line, product description, purchase order amount, supplier account name, purchase order date, enter date, and so on, right? So all those things that we renamed, they are now reflected in the main data set. All right, you'll see up top here, we get some cool visualizations, mini visualizations. So this is the business unit code, and we can see, we have a bunch that are in the 1,000 value, and then it looks like we have some business units that are up here in the 30,000 to 35,000 range. We look at purchase order line, product description, and so it looks like we have a distribution of the different amounts or different types of descriptions. And what else do we got? Anything else interesting? We have some distributions on date. It looks like most of our orders came through in October of 2019. We have some information on supplier group, and yeah, so I mean, Tableau Prep is interesting because it gives you these mini visualizations automatically. We can change our view, so if we didn't want to see them, we could show just the data grid. We could look at the fields, right? So we have only the field names here. We can go back to the original view that we have. All right, so now I'm going to create a new field. So I'm going to create fiscal year field. So I'm going to say create calculated field. I'm going to call this purchase, order fiscal year, okay? And I'm going to say that the formula for this, so you're going to put the formula down here. I'm just going to say 2020, okay? And I'm going to click save. Let's see what this does. All right, so this should ideally put a 2020 in a column in one column for every row. It's going to be 2020, and so that's what we should see once this goes through. All right, so it looks like that's exactly what we got. We have 2020 in every row here. That's what we wanted. The next thing is we want to create a field that is, we're going to call it entered by, which tells us the person that inputted the data point. So to call up our list of variables, we're going to type a bracket, right? And we're going to say we want to use the variable first initial, and then we want to combine that with a space. So I'm going to do plus quotes with a space in between, and then finally I'm going to do another bracket and say I want the last name field. All right, and we're going to hit save. All right, let's see what that looks like. All right, so that went through nicely. We have now the enter by variable in here, and since we have that variable, we can get rid of first and last name here. So we can right click on these fields and get rid of these. All right, so let's go back. Let's change our view, and we're gonna remove last name, and we are going to remove last initial. All right, and you'll see similar to what we had in SAS. Even though we're doing it in a different way, Tableau Prep is also keeping track of the changes that we have made along each step in the process. All right, so if we switch back to this view, eventually we should see this table down here exclude last name and first name. So let's see what happens once this finishes processing. All right, so it looks like it finished processing, and those fields are no longer present, and we have everything we need. So at this point, we're at the end of the lab. Take a screenshot of what you have on the screen right now and submit that as part of your lab assignment. So hopefully you got something out of seeing this same process done using two different softwares and how different the processes are in those two software tools. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Take care.